what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I'm so happy you're here. I really appreciate you stopping by the channel today because we are talking about what is one of my absolute favorite consoles of all time and easily my favorite console of Generation 6, the Nintendo GameCube. For about 6 months now, I have been giving you a series of videos giving you the 10 games on a particular console that I keep going back to. And before I started revisiting previous consoles that I've already covered, I think it's kind of important that I talk about the GameCube. So today, I'm going to be giving you 10 of the best games on the Nintendo GameCube that I still play today in 2023. Now, there are going to be a few games conspicuous by their absence, but I want to go over those real quick before we get into the list. Up first are these two right here. The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And the main reason is because I never really played them on the GameCube. I first played them on the Wii U. I didn't have the income at the time to be able to buy a lot of games, and when the HD versions released, didn't really see the need to go back and buy the classic ones. So I played these first on the Wii U. These would actually feature in the Wii U games that I keep coming back to. Spoilers for a future video. But not gonna be in this one. Same thing can be said about Super Mario Sunshine as well as Mario Kart Double Dash. As much as I love both of those games, there are many games that kind of rose above it and took their place on this list. Future iterations of this video will probably feature them, however. But what do you say we start off with a very different type of mascot platformer from Sega? I can't believe that we haven't gotten more entries in this game series, because when I first saw Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, I legitimately thought it was going to be a brave new world of fantastic mascot platformers from Sega, and it just fizzled and died. I don't know why. I legitimately don't know why, because everything in this game is charming and beautiful and fun and silly. And it's everything that, dare I say it, Sega wanted their Sonic games to be at the time, but just could not pull off. The gameplay is fun and different and unique. You play as a boy in a chicken suit. You push an egg around and you can jump on it and you can crow at it to hatch it. It's ridiculous. Like, on paper, this is the dumbest game ever made. This is dumber than Monkey Ball. Spoilers, that's coming up later. And it's just amazing. Like, there's nothing about this game that I don't love. It's so much fun, and it's something where I look at it and I'm just legitimately floored that this was the only entry in this game's history, because to me, this just screams franchise seller. Something that Sega really could have gotten behind and maybe put one new game out in this series every 4 or 5 years, because it's just charming and beautiful and fun and innocent. And we need more games like that. Man, there's just something about Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg that I love. It is irreverent in everything that it does. It's a silly game, an overly silly game if I'm being honest with you, and something that just revels in the fact that it's fun. And that's invaluable to me. I love fun video games, and I love how much heart and soul Billy Hatcher has. Next up, we are going to EA Sports, and we are not, I promise you, going to be looking at Fight Night Round 2. Instead, we're going to be looking at what is, in my opinion, one of the finest baseball games ever released. MVP Baseball 2005. I won't spend a ton of time on this one because I know sports games aren't for everybody, but to me, MVP Baseball 2005 is kind of the pinnacle of what Electronic Arts was able to do with the MLB license, and to this day is one of the best baseball games ever released. It doesn't hurt that one of my favorite players is on the cover, I won't lie to you, but the gameplay itself in the actual title is marvelous, and it actually harkens to a lot of what we see in modern-day baseball games like MLB The Show. You have a huge dynasty mode, there's a franchise mode, an owner mode, and you're just able to go in and play any game you want to play in a Play Now mode. And it has 99.9% of the different Major League Baseball players except for Kevin Millar and Barry Bonds. Aside from that, everyone's here. All 30 teams are in the game. The stadiums look great, the gameplay is fantastic, and it's just a really wonderful time. It's a nice gap that bridges the simplicity of classic like NES and SNES baseball games to the overall complexity of what we see today in modern sports titles. It's a sim, but it's still really fun. But I do think it is a spectacular title, as is this next game, one of the best space shooters of all time, Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader. Okay, let's get this up front and out there right away about Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. Yes, it sucks that there was no multiplayer. It totally sucks that there was no multiplayer, but guess what? The rest of the game is incredible. This is legitimately one of the best looking games of that console generation. Not just on the GameCube, of that entire generation. It's stunning. To this day, this is one of the best looking Star Wars games ever made. Despite the fact that it's not in widescreen, I would put this up against graphical fidelity of things like Jedi Fallen Order or any of the later TIE Fighter games. It feels that good. The game is so much fun to play. You hop right into the role of the different characters. You feel like you're in the Star Wars universe. The music is amazing. Not that you can hear it in this video because I really don't want to be sued and have my money taken by Disney, but it's just such a wonderful title. I really love everything about it, and I think this is probably the best of the Rogue Squadron games. And I think it's something that every GameCube collection should house. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, even if it's something that you just look at and you go, well, maybe it's not really my thing, you need to play it, because the gameplay and the just immersion in this universe is something really special. I'm hard-pressed to find flaw with this game. Like, it's stunning to me how great it still looks to this day, some 20 years after it initially released. I'm just floored by its appearance, I'm floored by the gameplay, I'm floored by the sound. It's literally one of the best games on the console, and something I so desperately wish we would get Rogue Squadron HD remasters because they're just such phenomenal games. Alright, up next, one of my favorite 3D platformers on the console, and this one's kind of twofold, because not only is the actual 3D platformer great, Pac-Man World 2, but the game it shipped with, Pac-Man Vs, is also fantastic. Now, yeah, I freely admit it might be a little weird that Pac-Man World 2 is on this list, but hear me out on this one. I'm spoiled for amazing 3D platformer games, and I'm a huge Pac-Man fan, have been my whole life. So when I got the first Pac-Man World, I was excited. I thought it was a really fun title, but it was a little lacking in some regards, and that holds true to this day. Pac-Man World Repack, while it's a great game on the Nintendo Switch and other consoles, it does have a little bit lacking to it. It's not a perfect execution of a game. Now, a lot of those issues are course-corrected in Pac-Man World 2. So to me, the levels are executed a little bit better in Pac-Man World 2. You have a really neat hub world in the Pac Village. You're able to play these amazing levels. There's 25 levels to go through, but you're also able to actually build an arcade, kind of like a rudimentary version of Pac-Man Museum Plus that released last year. You're able to get emulated arcade versions of games like Pac-Man, Pac-Attack, Ms. Pac-Man, Pac-Mania, and Ms. Pac-Man is the key here because you're not going to get that anywhere else. Is this a perfect game? No, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something that I just found to be inherently charming and executed incredibly well. Also along with it is Pac-Man Vs, which is an unbelievable competitive Pac-Man title. There's GBA Link connectivity, which is fantastic, and you are either playing as Pac-Man or as one of the ghosts trying to track down Pac-Man. It's a brilliant game, and it was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, so that's pretty damn cool as far as I'm concerned. Alright, so no footage of Pac-Man Vs. I didn't actually get it recorded, I apologize for that, but if you can imagine competitive Pac-Man, you're there. As far as Pac-Man World 2 goes, though, it is one of my favorite 3D platformers on the console. It does show its age a bit, I won't lie to you, but I have my fingers crossed that we're actually going to get an HD remaster of this one like we just did with Pac-Man World Repack that came out last year, because this is by far the superior game. It's such a joy to play. It was Namco at their best reinventing Pac-Man and making it just work. Up next, we're going back to Nintendo, and we're looking at one of the best RPGs on the console, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. The Paper Mario series might be my favorite Mario games, even compared to any of the fantastic platformers that are out there, either 2D or 3D. The Paper Mario games, to me, just are something really special. Even the ones that aren't great are still something really unique and really special. And Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, while I think it's my favorite of the Paper Mario series, is probably the one that is the least ambitious in its design, because it just borrows really heavily from the first one. It just perfects it in every conceivable way. The gameplay is phenomenal. The graphics are gorgeous. There's all kinds of incredible interactions that allow Mario to utilize his paperness to fold into airplanes and things like that after he gets cursed. And the combat is wonderful. It's all kind of rhythm-based or timing-based, for lack of a better term, where you're going to be using the beats in the game when you actually jump on someone to press a button, to deal more damage, to jump off. It's a brilliantly designed and executed title that feels familiar and just feels wonderfully done. But the thing the game does the best is its unbelievable plot and fantastic writing. The game is wickedly funny. The characters are memorable and brilliantly done, and they are kind of the signature versions of characters that I think of to this day. When I think of Bowser, I think of Bowser from the Paper Mario series. Same thing with Peach. That's just how good this game is. It's my favorite in the Paper Mario series and an absolutely phenomenal series of games. This and Super Paper Mario are head and shoulders above the rest. So yeah, not only one of the best RPGs on the console, also one of the most expensive games on the console. So it's something where we've had our copy now since it released. Paper Mario is one of my wife's favorite series, so I wanted to make sure we held on to it, and it's such a great game. Like, as much as I love the N64 original, and I do, Thousand Year Door pluses it in every conceivable way. Now we're going to one of my favorite series from Ubisoft, a developer that I truly admire, and I think they were at their strongest during Generation 6. This is Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. I remember when I started seeing advertisements for Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time in gaming magazines, and I was really intrigued because Prince of Persia was always something that I was interested in when I was younger, but I mean, let's face it, the original games weren't really fun for a kid to play. They were more methodical, and that wasn't at all what I wanted to experience when I was younger, especially in a platforming game. But when I started seeing the ads and eventually commercials for Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, I realized how special this game could be. And when I got the game, I was absolutely blown away. This is one of the most fluid combat experiences I'd ever had in a video game to that point. And when I look at how it plays today, I can see its influences on games like Batman Arkham Asylum, like the Assassin's Creed series, Immortals Phoenix Rising. Even Marvel's Spider-Man on the PlayStation owes a lot to what happened with Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. The movement, the locomotion, the animations, and the abilities to climb and move around and rewind time absolutely blew my mind when I was younger, and it's something that to this day I still think is an underutilized and an underappreciated system of what a game could be. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I think this might be in my top 10 games of all time just because of how just incredibly influential it was on the industry and on me personally as a gamer. It's so good. If you have never played the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time series, you need to. When I look at Prince of Persia, I see so much influence that was laid out for the future of Assassin's Creed. So many things sprung from this series. The different ways that the prince traversed the terrain, the different ways the combat was executed. It's such a fantastic title. It holds up to this day. It's absolutely a brilliant game to play. One of my favorites, and it's brilliant on any console. I just happen to prefer the GameCube version. Up next, I think this is the best racing game on the GameCube, F-Zero GX. While this isn't a direct arcade port, F-Zero GX is such a nearly one-to-one example of what you can do by bringing an arcade game to the home console, because this is so similar to F-Zero AX, which was an incredible arcade experience where you were able to connect different arcade machines together. You kind of see it today in the Mario Kart arcade games, but I digress. F-Zero GX is fast. It's the fastest video game I've ever played. It just feels like speed personified. I've never played anything that feels faster than this one. And it's just a strong racing game. This might be the best racing game on the Nintendo GameCube. There's nothing about it that doesn't work. It's the first one to have a story mode, which I thought was incredible. It's such a smart inclusion to make this a little bit more deep and a little bit more accessible, and actually give you personality behind these characters as just opposed an interesting look. The gameplay is incredible. It's fast, it's fluid, it's hard as hell. And it's something where you're just going to want to keep coming back and keep trying to best your time, unlock more tracks, and eventually even unlock the AX tracks from the arcade game. It's just a miraculous title that I don't think any game has ever captured and ever really emulated the speed and the just fluidity of what this title has. It's amazing.
I don't need to say anything more than, did you see that? It's flawless. It's fast. It's loud. It's exciting. It's perfect in every single way. I find no fault with F-Zero GX. Up next, we're going hack and slash dungeon crawl, and this is such a fun title. And I really think that people overlook it because of the subsequent games that came out in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance series. But X-Men Legends 2, one of my personal favorites.
As a lifelong comic book nerd and a lifelong role-playing game fan, the X-Men Legends and Marvel Ultimate Alliance games were so ridiculously up my alley that they basically made them for me. I was a big fan of the Marvel Ultimate comics at the time, and I felt that the games that were released based on those comics and kind of adapted from those comics, I think that's probably more accurate, were amazing. They are top-down dungeon crawl hack and slash, kind of like Diablo, where you control up to 4 different characters at the same time, all from the Ultimate X-Men universe. These are the playable characters in the game, and it's a fantastic lineup of characters. Bishop, Colossus, Cyclops, Gambit, Iceman, Jean Grey, Juggernaut, Magneto, Nightcrawler, Rogue, Scarlet Witch, Storm, Sunfire, Toad, Wolverine, Deadpool, Iron Man, and Professor X. And there's so much to the game. The levels that you're crawling through are massive. There's a ton of enemies to fight, and the best thing about this game is the fact that you're able to kind of customize and tailor each character to play the way you want them to. You can put skill points into the abilities that you enjoy and not have to focus on other things. And even better, it's multiplayer, so you can get buddies together and have them build the characters the way they want to. It's just a phenomenal time, a great game. Like, I wish it looked a little less muddy. I wish the graphics were a little bit better in it, but I can overlook that because it's just so much fun to play.
X-Men Legends 2 is a brilliantly executed title with fantastic, memorable characters set in the Marvel Ultimate Universe. It's just a wonderful experience, and if you haven't had the chance to play it, you really should. All right, now you guys know how much I love snowboarding games, and the Nintendo GameCube had one of the absolute best. This is 1080 Avalanche.
Longtime viewers of the channel will know that I'm a huge fan of snowboarding video games. This dates all the way back to the PS1 with Cool Border series, but to me, outside of the SSX series, which, I mean, let's be honest, is kind of the Rolls-Royce of snowboarding video games, the best is the 1080 series to me. And it's interesting to me because they're so different from SSX. Whereas SSX kind of focuses on big air and crazy tricks, 1080 is all about the race. It's all about the downhill struggle, trying to get to the bottom first and win against your opponent. Now, there are stunt runs, there are daredevil runs and things like that, but to me, the signature gameplay of 1080, and 1080 Avalanche specifically, is that downhill jam. It's an amazing title. It still looks incredible to this day, and it plays beautifully well. Like, it is such a natural fit for the GameCube controller that it's kind of perfect, if I'm being honest with you. I really love this game, and honestly, I love how dirt cheap it is, because it is just a ridiculously inexpensive title. I just love it. If you haven't played it, and you're looking for some snowboarding action that's a little bit different than what you would experience with an SSX game, or something like Steep on modern consoles, check out 1080 Avalanche, because it's a really fun racing title that does some really neat stuff.
I love the entire 1080 series, and, well, I mean, all 2 games, but I love the 1080 games, and 1080 Avalanche on the GameCube is one of the finest racing games on the Nintendo GameCube. It's a brilliantly executed title. It looks fantastic to this day, and it still plays amazingly well. Last game, going back to Sega, actually. This is Super Monkey Ball 2.
Oh, Super Monkey Ball 2, how do I love thee, let me count the ways. Well, there's really 2. So, I love the campaign mode. The idea behind Super Monkey Ball is ridiculous. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of, and it's just perfect. Like, it's stupid, don't get me wrong, but it's perfect in every possible way. It's a physics puzzle game that's also a racing game because you have to get through the levels quickly, and you want to collect the different bananas and stuff like that, which is awesome, because the levels increasingly get more difficult and more just over the top and absurd in the way that they're designed and the different obstacles that are going to be in your way. And when they get to the point where you just can't go any further, you get all the mini games that you're able to play. And there's nothing at all better than Monkey Target and Monkey Fight. Both of them are just absolutely wonderful. I'm terrible at Monkey Target. I will never be good at it, but it's still something that I love to play. Being able to hang glide in a monkey ball, you can't beat it. And Monkey Fight is just a joy. It's such a simple, just knock your opponent out of the ring type of game, but it's just a blast to play. I can't find fault with anything in Super Monkey Ball 2. The music is great, the graphics are fun. It does not take itself seriously, and that's exactly what you want from a game that is about rolling a monkey down a hill in a ball.
I have so many incredible memories of Super Monkey Ball 2 and just such a phenomenal time playing it with both my wife and our friends, and being able to play not only the single-player campaign, which was fantastic, but the incredible mini-games just made Super Monkey Ball 2 an elite-level title. It's still, to this day, I think, the best Monkey Ball game. All right, there you have it, my friends. The 10 GameCube games that I am still playing to this day in 2023. Let me know in the comments down below what games you are still playing. And these aren't the only 10. There will be more in the future, mark my words, I promise that. But let me know in the comments down below which ones you are still playing and if there's anything that surprised you on this list today. Hey, if you're in a position to help the channel out, check out the Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links will be in the description down below. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.